now broadcasting, and then there's just bar going across for forever.
Yeah.
As it was actually figuring out what it was doing.
Okay, looks like we're up and running then.
Yeah, I,
Let's wait and see if a couple of people join.
of course, as per usual, we give it about 5-ish minutes before we set everything off. Is this you sent in to help us everyone that's driving? Yes. That would be the answer to that
Yeah.
question. Slim's asking,
Yes.
Slim saying roast him. Slim, we absolutely are. Whether it be right now, in 10 minutes, or in an hour and a half's time when the first race starts, you are absolutely going to get roasted.
Awesome. Everyone's in the chat. It's pretty busy. Hello, everyone. Nice to join. Thanks for joining. We have a nice little preview show for the upcoming season, the third season of our esports series, where it's kicking off tonight at Brands Hatch at 8 p.m. But just like last season, we thought it would be a good idea just to give you a rundown of who's joined, who's left, who is also changing teams, because we've had a few of those as well. And just go through what we feel like the chances are ahead of what's going to be a really competitive season. We got on in the background as well the replay of the Largo Maggiore race, because most of the teams were represented in this one, and Hizal's at the front there, which is just nice to see. Always nice to try and milk every last opportunity from the one race he did with us. But yeah.
Yeah, all the chat saying, hey, Deco, Deco started something already. That's brilliant. But yeah, the first race being in what's the time now? Just under an hour and 20 minutes left until go time at Brands Hatch. So yeah, it's going to be a fairly different season to what we saw last season. Obviously, we had some big hitters like FGR and Halix in that one, and everything that unfolded with how the championship ended in at Le Mans last season. But they're not here now, so championship is potentially thrown wide back open.
Absolutely. And actually, looking at some of these teams, and we'll go through them, but I would say two of the teams, potentially three, have improved their rosters massively. So I think it's going to be a very, very competitive one. There's no one really that sticks out for me. But yeah, should we dive straight into it?
Yeah, sounds good with me.
Okay.
Shall we start with the top? I think we...
Let's start with the champions, yeah.
Okay, yep.
So Arix were a team last season that had the Lambo, which turned out to be one of, if not the best car at certain tracks last season, really propelled them to the championship. This season, they are not in the Lambo anymore. So it's an interesting one. So Javi, the man who won 2 races last season and got plenty of other podiums, has switched to the Aston Martin Vantage, which this week received a pretty substantial buff to its performance. But before that was not a good car.
It's one of those where Javi just picked a car he wanted to drive and would think he would enjoy driving, and then fluked it. And he got himself potentially, we don't really know the after effects of this update yet, still getting used to it. It's only been, 3 days since the Thursday update, so...
Yeah, we don't know how much the car's going to even improve, to be honest, at this point. We'll find out tonight.
Yeah, and, he was realistically the main driving force behind the Arix team last season. I don't want to say the whole reason, but he was definitely a significant portion of why Arix was up there fighting Halix and eventually winning it at the end. Almost collapsed, but ended up holding on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Slim and Kep were really good rear gunners. Well, not even rear gunners, because Slim had a best result of 4th, and he's had a 5th as well. And then Kepler has had a podium and a fifth place as well. So some really solid results, and that's quite big points to get. Slim this season is going to be in the Gen X, which I don't think it would be very good around Brands Hatch. And Keplero is in the Lexus, which we know is pretty good just across the board, full stop. So again, not in the Lambos, but pretty solid couple of car choices. And then do you want to take Ben's?
Yeah, Ben is in the G4, and I think that's just because he, quite frankly, they're going to be driving an awful lot, to be honest with you. It's an interesting choice, but it's more of a meme choice rather than anything else. And then you've got Peachy, who is in the Renault this season, which if he can actually get something going in a Renault, he could potentially throw a curveball or two. Given the fact that he is current Tier 3 champion in Monday Series, so it's not anything to kind of just write off straight away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going overall for the team, I've seen Slim, albeit it was cold last night, but he did drive that Gen X around Deep Forest last night. Different track, arguably. Potentially even more suited to the Gen X than Brands Hatch is going to be tonight. And he was not quick. He was fighting me and Wax for a substantial amount of the time.
You say he's learning the car still, potentially.
Yeah, it definitely. Okay. It's going to be... The reason why when he joined and said roast him, that I responded by saying it's almost certainly going to happen tonight. Last night was not particularly good.
Yeah, and then apart from them, we've also got a newcomer for Arex. They've got a new signing called Kukas, I think is how you pronounce it. He's going to be driving in the GR Supra. Personally know absolutely nothing about this driver, apart from I think he's Finnish, so potentially races in that Finnish league that Slim also races in. But yeah, do you know anything about him?
Not really, and that's the kind of it's an interesting one. When you get new people, we were saying this last season as well when we had the FGR and Alex and everyone, because we had a bunch of new people come in last season. New people you can see people hype them up a lot. Obviously we had that last season, and then people like Ryoki, for example, fell completely flat. So it could go either way when it comes to a new driver, and I'm very interested to see if they've added to their arsenal, and if they've added a good person to their arsenal, or just someone as a backup.
I'm just gonna see who's actually racing for them tonight. They have they were the first people to actually announce their team. Javi, Peachy and Keplero tonight. So that is the Aston for Javi. Peachy's in the Renault, which should be very good around here, and Keplero's in the Lexus, which again should be very fast around here. So they'll be aiming for all three to be in the Lobby A tonight, for sure.
Yeah, it should happen. Peachy's the potential odd one out, obviously. I just said not write him off, but I'm going to do exactly that.
Okay, and, the prediction's locked in already.
Yeah, Peachy's going to be the only question mark around there tonight. We'll wait and see how it all plays out. As for questions in the stream, is background music necessary? Yes, absolutely. If you're asking that, you clearly haven't watched a stream that I've done in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Having background music is actually quite nice, in particular if we both aren't actually saying anything, it's not dead silent. So, it's a good idea.
Right, should we move on to Project Platypus, our other esports champions from Season 1?
Yep.
So, this team have chopped and changed both. They've got two new drivers who weren't racing in esports last season, and they've actually lost 3 drivers to other teams, which we'll get to. So quite a lot of movement in Project Platypus. They've gone car-wise very strong, in my opinion. So we have Perry upgrading from the Mazda to the M6. Kellen was in the Lexus, he's moving to the M6. And this new driver, which has had a bit of hype around him, like you talked about hype a bit earlier, Mahata, is in the M6 as well. And based on what people are saying, potentially he is going to qualify on pole and win the race fairly comfortably, but we'll have to see if that plays out.
Yeah, time trial and race, especially under these kind of settings, are two very, very different things at this point. Not to
Yeah.
discredit Mahara, but we kind of I have anyway, have kind of learned the lesson of trusting the time trial hype from last season. That's a certain. But yeah, they've definitely upgraded, especially from Mazdas to M6s. You've got Zico, who's in the GTR from the Mazda last season. GTR. I was having a few conversations about that car. It's one of those where it's solid everywhere, but not great at, not great in particular.
It's an 8 out of 10
track.
everywhere, but it's not a 10 out of 10 in a single place. So there's always going to be cars that are as quick, if not a little bit quicker than it. But it should still be there or thereabouts. We saw Aura absolutely dominating in it at the end of last season in Esports. Going on for crazy overtakes. It's had great breaks into turn 1 at Interlagos.
Yeah, well, I think he got like 5 or 6 at one point in the Interlagos race. It was actually quite insane to see him pick the same move over and over again the entire night. Obviously, it was marred by the qualifying ban that he had to serve, but yeah, he was doing extremely well in the GTR when he came into the league.
You got BX in the GTR as well. He was in the Supra last season. So swapping, I don't know, what are you swapping there? Worse fuel for better tires potentially. But yeah, I'm expecting BX to be back at the top. He only competed 3 times last season. He finished 4th, 9th, and then 1st in Le Mans. So potentially going to be getting a little bit more action.
Yeah. It was very controversial first. I'm on to say that at the very least. But yeah, I think he's more traded off the fuel for straight line speed this season than being in the Supra, albeit it did get nerfed in this update. So, but we'll see how much that has an effect. I doubt it will, but the Supra, usually a very good straight line speed car. And as a whole, I think we might be pretty much set for potentially a massive rematch from the first season of Arix versus Project Platypus, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, it is looking that way. And then, yeah, just to finish off Project Platypus team, we've got Whack Jamps. He didn't actually race last season. He is in the GR Supra, and the final driver is someone called Tobias, who's been in the server for quite a while, hasn't actually made a race debut yet in any of our leagues, but we do know he is fast, tier 1 pace fast, so expected some interesting performances for him in the Gen X. As for the drivers who are racing tonight, it is Perry, Zico, and Mahata, so we will find out soon enough the true pace of this new alien that's joined Project Platypus.
I was about to say, everyone is hyping him up and he's saying that he's not some random guy, but I am. I've been in that chat. I've seen a few things. I still want proof. I still want evident proof that I can trust a driver before I start joining along that hype train. And yeah, you can probably call me bandwagon in 3 weeks' time when he's just wiped the floor with the entire group. But yeah, I still very much want a proof of making it work beforehand.
Yeah.
But yeah,
let's move on to Aero GT then. Aero GT Racing by Aero League Racing, trademarked, registered, copyrighted. It is. Oh, so, okay. This is quite. It's quite interesting. So I said there's a few teams that have done massive upgrades, and Aero is definitely one of them. They've been on like a mad recruitment drive. So Owen's managed to pinch 2 Project Platypus drivers off the hands of Perry. He's got Dan the Man, tier 1 driver, and Big Beaver, tier 1 driver. He's won multiple races in tier 1 as well. Big Beaver is going to be in the Lambo Huracan once again, and Dan is going to be in the Huracan, as well as Hurricane and Scotty, who both raced a few times last season.
Yeah.
Perry's saying they're on loan, and okay.
Yeah, Perry has been playing far too much FIFA career mode. That's what we've established, and yeah, Dan is in the Dan is apparently
Dan's
in
the Lexus. Oh, well, I obviously just read the first letter and typed in Lambo.
Ross is on top tier form tonight, everyone. I want to put that out
Dan's
there.
just said he's not on load as well. Okay, they can have that. They can settle their dispute in the chat. Let's move on to the rest of the team. So Owen is in the BMW M6. Owen always finished either 6th, 7th, or 8th every single time he raced, which is pretty crazy. So I guess he's trying to improve on that and finally start getting top 5s. But yeah, that is insane consistency from Owen. Jack in the GTR, which he is very strong in. He finished runner-up in Tier 2 in the GTR previously. Prime Call is a new signing in the GTR. He finished 3rd place in Tier 3 last season. And that's it. Yeah. Oh, Elian. Did I say Elian? He's in the Lexus.
I don't think you did. But in overall, they have definitely upgraded because they had Owen and Capel, which was the solid core of that team last season. And this time they have 3 and 4 drivers that are considered tier 1 pace in the league. And therefore potentially a lobby rated, they could potentially score big points.
Yeah.
Owen, obviously the big name as a whole, the one to watch on that team this season, that they look to strive for from 5th and basically just about getting into that final, into potentially even a championship fight, if not the top 3 at the very least.
Yeah, and tonight they've got Owen, Big Beaver, and Dan the Man racing, so expecting all 3 of them to be comfortably in Lobby A, to be honest. But we'll see.
I definitely would expect Beaver and Owen to kind of put the pressure on at the front of Lobby A as well, for good measure, especially Beaver, who does usually like a good run around and Brands Hatch. But they're definitely upgrades. They're definitely promising a lot of upside. It's just whether or not they can put it together to realize that upside and push on forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next team. Next up is Pegasus, who just missed out on the top 5 after managing to nab Hizal halfway through the season to completely dominate the race that is currently on your screen right now. Now, they've gone incredibly basic in their car choice. I don't blame them because they're here to win, right? But 4 of the drivers, Pumpkin Patch, Chris, GTRSA, and Pung, who all raced multiple times last season for them, have all changed from being in the GR Supra last season to the M6 this season, which is a clear, definite upgrade for those drivers for sure. But yeah, I was expected to see more M6s before just now. But yeah, everyone's liking a bit of variety so far, apart from Pegasus.
Yeah, and then you've got Max in the GTR, which is a replacement for his Porsche 911, and then Asseldor joining them this season in a Corvette, which is a very interesting call, to say at the very least. But yeah, Pegasus seem to absolutely adore the strategy of going into the season, seeing what they could do in the first 3 or 4 weeks, and then realizing it is far too late for them to do anything proper. Get all the big guys in, and then narrowly miss out on something special.
The key to a good season for Pegasus basically is going to be getting into Lobby A first and foremost. I think that's what let them down, because they had some really good, strong races in Lobby B, but not too many of them, apart from Chris, really managed to get into Lobby A. But they've got a new driver who did always qualify in Lobby A last season. Another driver pinched off of Project Platypus in Lord Asseldor. He's on his 3rd team in 3 seasons. He's getting around, getting passed around like a bike. He's in, very interestingly, the Corvette.
Yeah, it's a choice. It is a choice. And I can only imagine they have certain tracks in mind, because it's not a car I would choose for if he was just to drive every race available, because it is not a good car. It's just not a good car in any way, shape or form. But it has straight line speed, so I guess they have got to have.
We are racing at Monza. We've got some high speed, like that Tokyo layout that's on the calendar is very high speed as well.
It's got to be certain tracks in mind with Vassador and the Corvette, because there's
tactical.
no way a huge strategy call. Realistically.
Well, compare it to the rest of the cars. We've also got Max in the Nissan this season. He's changed from the Porsche to the Nissan, so always trying something slightly different. But if you're thinking about it, the M6's top speed isn't that great. So that is where Asseldor could come in and, you know, pick the team back up in terms of straight line performance.
Yeah, that's fair. We're being told that we're clueless. Apparently the Corvette's going to be better than we think. Well,
okay. Let's see.
I mean, if that's going to be the case, I'm happy to be proved wrong, but until that happens, I'm still going to have my opinion from when I drove it and everything like that, and driven it since the update as well, which was not particularly great. So, yeah, it's just personal experience. I'm going to go with personal anecdotes rather than anything else. I can only go off of what I've experienced in the past, and if it turns out to be good, then fair play on the choice. Like same with the Aston, for example. If it can get it going, then sure, it could be a very good one to pick at the end of the day. But I very much doubt the ability to get it going, which is, I guess, where the problem starts.
Yeah. And then also one last driver who we don't actually have his car pick in yet, so we need Richard's car pick in because he is racing tonight. VSR Richard, who has done a few races for Pegasus as well. We need to know what he's driving.
Someone scream at Pumpkin, get Richard a car real quick. He's got out there.
Oh, his M6. Okay, the fifth M6 driver for Pegasus. So we got for tonight. Let me just find who's been entered for tonight for Pegasus. It is Pumpkin Patch in the M6, Chris in the M6, and Richard in the M6. Okay.
So M6 all around, which is actually not too surprising given the fact that like 80% of their team is in the M6 at this point.
Yeah.
So it's gonna happen eventually.
Obviously, not Asseldor's kind of track in that Corvette. It would struggle massively around here.
This race will be Richard's first with downforce settings. Are you telling me like all those the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, the other races he must have ran stock. Oh well, interesting. So he's going to find an extra second potentially.
Just randomly comes out of nowhere. We saw what he could do in Austria a couple of seasons back. He didn't quite get the find that same form last season when he did a couple of races for Pegasus. But I mean, if that's gonna be
Richard on the podium today.
That's if he's gonna find time to go back to the Austria kind of route that he was taking, then I'm very intrigued to see what he can potentially pull out the bag tonight.
There are 20 guys expected to get into Lobby A comfortably. Well, you have to listen out for when we don't say that. The best things gets left unsaid. Anyway, that's a good time to move on to our next team, V2. V2 had incredibly quick pace at many times in the season. In the opening round, all three of the drivers comfortably qualified into Lobby A, but what ended up happening in the races more often than not were disconnects or just multiple incidents which kind of limited what kind of finishing positions they could get. So we've still got Snipes, Mortal and Skyline, who were the heavy lifters in terms of providing points for this team, but they've gone for very interesting car choices. Snipes is in the Alfa Romeo, which is alright, but like ultimate lap pace wise, you might be struggling to get into Lobby A if your pace is marginal. Then we've got Mortal in the Dodge Viper, which is the only one that you'll see this season in Monday League or in Sunday League. So, yeah, I'm really keen to see what he does with that. Obviously, it's great in a straight line, will be great at Monza and Tokyo, but the rest of the tracks, it might be a huge struggle. And we've got Skyline in a very solid Porsche 911. So none of them sticking with the M6 this time around. Yeah,
and then they've also got a Roticod who was driving last season. He's in a Renault now instead of the GTR. They've also gone ahead and got Auto as well, who's in an Alpha 4C, which is Alpha 4C is an interesting one because its tires are great. from what we
it
figured
is
out.
very good on tires. It's pretty good on fuel.
From what we've seen in Money League, anyway. Yeah.
It just lacks the ultimate pace of like the M6, for example. But if it opens different strategy doors and like you can get away with one stopping, that is a huge advantage. So we'll have to see what happens in the season.
Yeah, that is true. But we have seen this. We've seen this story plenty of times before, I would like to say, where we go 2-stop versus 1-stop. The 2-stop always wins. So it's just going to be one of those where if you're going to get it, if you're going to go for 1-stop, you've got to make sure you've got it right. Otherwise, that will backfire. As it has done plenty of times before, but I'm not expecting too much from B2. Last season, they did extremely well at the start. They practiced a ton, and they obviously got repaid with it. They got Snipes at the beginning of the season and Road Atlanta. Absolutely a crazy pace. He was up there with people he had absolutely no right of fighting. And then he got halfway through the season, and then they just didn't practice anymore, and it was fairly evident after that point of where they started trending downwards.
They were in the top 5 for a bit, and then Aero pipped them, and then Pegasus got them in the end as well. But yeah, let's have a look at who they've got tonight. So they've got Eroticos and Autoration. Neither of these drivers have ever qualified for Lobby A. So, they're looking to start the season off with a first, I suppose, with them too. And then we've got Snipes in the 4C who qualified in Lobby A 4 out of 5 times, including I think he was like 3rd in Atlanta. His pace can be at the very, very top of the grid. It should be in theory a little bit easier than last season to get into Lobby A, but yeah, it's going to have to be perfect qualifier for Auto and Eroticos if they are going to be joining potentially, the fastest guys in the league in Lobby A.
Yeah, and this is the opposite side of the coin of what you guys were talking about earlier in terms of like 20 people we expect to be in Lobby A. That's the other side of the coin. There's going to be a lot of guys with ambitions of the Lobby A at the very least, or we expect to be in and around that area, and a couple of guys that, quite frankly,
but it's all possible. It's all possible. It's only 10 minutes, and it's a short lap, so any little mistake is going to be pounced upon. But yeah, let's move on to Team Falcon, who have like another team just like Aero have really done their homework in the off season. Huge. They've got incredibly quick drivers. So the team leader essentially in terms of doing the heavy lifting points wise last season was Ahmed. 3 out of 4 times was in Lobby A, and when he was in Lobby B he finished the race in 2nd, and he only missed out. He was like the 16th fastest qualifier that day. So he's another one in the Gen X, so it's turning out to be a pretty popular pick this season. And he's joined by incredibly fast guy from Tier 1. He won a race last season, Alessandro, in the Porsche 911. Also joining in the Porsche 911 is a driver who people seem to know about. I personally don't, called Beetlejuice. He's had a similar reception to Mahata. Both of them seem to be pretty quick guys, so expecting him to be putting on quite a performance tonight as well in the 911.
This is not okay. That's the first time I've actually, if that is correct, that's the first time I've heard his name said right. But that is a guy that I have raced against a few times.
What did you think it was pronounced?
I'm not even gonna go there.
No, you can't say that and not tell
I
us.
absolutely can.
Give us a go.
Can.
Come on, it's okay. There's no judgment here.
That's a lie.
Beetlejuice.
I'd say that is not. This is definitely not a judgment-free zone. Ikkanen is what he wants to be called. Okay, that's significantly easier for me.
Damn it! I wish I had waited for you to say it now. That's the biggest regret of the season already. Oh,
that's beautiful. Okay, I can say Ikkanen. That's far better for me. Because I'm pretty sure I will be seeing that name a few times. He should be one of the better drivers he's definitely lobby A worthy at the absolute least, but I feel like he's probably a little bit better than that.
And tonight they've got Ahmed, Beetlejuice, and Alessandro, so that's like the quickest team that they could possibly field. Very, very strong statement of intent there for Falcon, and yeah, I think they're my pick already to be the most improved team from last season to this season. That's my prediction.
That's surprisingly, I don't think that's as outlandish as you think that is, because if all they did was add Alessandro, who we know is one of the fastest guys in the league at this point, to their team, that would be a large chunk of points, provided he drives at a few of the races, like a ton of the races. He would be one of the highest point scorers we have all season. So it is a massive upgrade, and I think them and Aero GT are the two that realistically looking at trying to bring a fight this season, and potentially a championship fight if nothing else, where they've got nothing to lose. We've had them this last season. Aero GT got in at the end and ended up being 5th, but they were never strong enough to challenge the front 4, and Falcon were never really good enough to do anything last season.
But they just had they had a lot of Lobby B qualifying and then failing to score points in Lobby B a little bit too often. So even when they had good results, it was being counterbalanced a little bit too much. But I have a feeling they're not going to be scoring any 0 points anymore. So yeah, they're going to definitely be challenging. I'm excited to see what happens with them.
It's going to be very interesting, because I feel like there's a potential that if Alessandro hits the ground running in particular, that they kind of assume the FGR role, in my opinion. Because obviously Super GT, not saying Alessandro by any means is on the level of Super GT, I'm not insinuating that, and not willing to offend anybody by saying that. But if he starts nailing out good results, it'll be him there, and then the other two, to see if they can get help from the other two. And we did see FGR put, a rather lackluster fight, but it was still a fight, from a large part of last season. So it's not like it's impossible for Team Falcon here, but I do think they will be thereabouts with Aero GT, probably 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, I think they're capable of getting Lobby A podiums this season, and that's exactly what they need. And if they can do that, I think a top 5 should be quite comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next team is CavR, and okay, so CavR have definitely upgraded in terms of their car. They have gone for 4 M6s, and that is in comparison with last season, where they shifted everything up. So they had a Supra, they had an Alfa Romeo, and they had a Porsche. So at least they'll all be able to work together on strategies and aero setups as well, which will be pretty important. So they've got a really good scope of improving. Unfortunately, they had never qualified in Lobby A all of last season for any of their drivers. So that is going to be the first milestone for them to reach, is getting into Lobby A this time round.
Yeah, and I will forever admire the balls on Fluffy Butt to go for an Alfa Romeo 4C while everyone else was picking Lambos and had 6s last season.
Yeah,
it didn't work. It didn't get remotely close to working. But I will forever admire the attempt. And for CavR this season, it is entirely about just improving. What can they improve upon? What can they manage to scrounge up this season? Because I don't think they're realistically on the pace to fight, but I do think that they could get a lot better this season than they were last season. Yeah, Deco, you're not even getting an "and then there's a Deco" this season.
Oh no, I didn't mention Deco or Plasty. They're both in the Porsche. Let's move on. Oh my god, it's because we got too excited talking about their team for tonight. Never mind.
This is incredible. Everyone, he's on mid-season form, and we haven't even hit race 1. Let's go.
I know.
Tonight's gonna
be a calamity.
We've only got 45 minutes to go with
I know, right? We're taking our time. But we do only have one team left. It is the new team called Project Racing United, and we don't know anything about them in terms of their drivers. We've got MBR Pix in the Renault, we've got Zeely in a BMW M6, we've got Kaikkonen and Long Chicken in a Renault, and we've got Turbo Tony in a Nissan GTR. So all really solid car choices, and we'll have to see what they can do tonight, I suppose. They're going to be qualifying in Lobby B.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a case that we don't know what they're about. They're an unknown. We'll see what they can do. But I kind of want Turbo Tony to be quick, just to live up to his name, because I think it's funny.
Yeah, it's a good name.
There are a few good names on this one. That's on, well, as a whole. Long Chicken as well. It's an absolutely
Long Chicken. That's only half his name. I can't. His full name's too long.
I admit I've not actually taken a proper look. Well, we'll see later on whether or not I'll be saying it a lot. If you're in Lobby A for the race later. But yeah, I said it earlier, but an unknown is such a curveball because nobody knows what to expect. And you'll see some of these teams where they're in their second season, they might see something like a sophomore slump kind of thing, where other teams will have figured out what they can do well, what they can't do well, and kind of adjust around it. Whereas you get a team on their first week in the job, and it's a case of, well, what the hell are they going to bring? Like, genuinely, we don't have any ideas that they could be lightning quick, or they could be right at the back of Caval. We have absolutely no idea whether or not that's going to happen.
Hey, that's harsh. I have a lot of confidence that Caval are going to have a much better season in their M6s. I'm going to put that's going to be the other pleasant surprise. But yeah, tell me who's your pick for the season? One team, and why?
The team that I think will win championship is going to be Project Platypus. And the reason why I go Project Platypus, not necessarily biased or anything, is that I do not trust Arix as far as I can throw them. And that's not very far, because I am a twig. I do not trust them to stop them bottling anything they go near. They almost did it in Le Mans last season. They got bailed out by a penalty. They've done it before. They did it a few times in the first season when they had golden opportunities to take it to Project Platypus and got buried because of X, Y, and Z, and then whether it be one stop versus two stop, or they'd always end second to a better strategy or better tires or better fuel or just better driving. I just don't trust them. So I'm going Project Platypus to win the whole thing.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, so I was going to go for Project Platypus, but then you said that. So I don't think it's going to be Arix. Like, and this is going to be famous last words, but I'm not a fan of their car choices. They have all gone for something different as well, which can kind of I think one of the things that worked so well for them last season was they had that really good synchronicity, and it all came together in Interlagos, where they all finished in like the top 5. And they're not going to have that this season because they're all in different cars, and some of them are not going to be suited to some of the tracks that we've got coming up as well. So, okay, hear me out. I'm going with Falcon. If they can field Alessandro Areda Beetlejuice every week, I think that they're going to be consistent enough in the top 5, top 6, top 7 every single week to amass enough points to win.
Okay. And, well, I guess that's the bold prediction. That's your bold prediction for the season as well, for good measure. That's an interesting one. I did allude earlier on that if they can get things going, they might have a chance. I'm not entirely sure I'm willing to go that far on them, but I wouldn't be
but imagine
surprised.
If I'm right, like, what a prediction.
I mean, that would be a very much an out there prediction for certain.
Ahmed disagrees.
I would hang my hat if you ended up getting that, and that ended up being the case, and fair play, honestly.
Yeah. What's
don't
our
know what else
surprise?
to say
What's your surprise team of the season, Pyro? What's your prediction?
I'm just looking down the list at this point. My biggest prediction is that I think that obviously, so we've got Project Racing United and Pegasus. They're essentially one derived from the other. I think, I'm not going to go ahead and say A and B for reasons, but I think Racing United will beat Pegasus over the course of the season. I think that's the
What is this based on? Because you just said earlier that you
I'm
know
saying
absolutely
this-
nothing about any of these tracks.
I'm saying this purely because, for a similar reason why I don't back Arix. I think that Project Platypus always, not Project Platypus, Pegasus, sorry, leave it too little too late every single season. And I'm still not convinced they've learned the lesson yet.
So you don't believe they'll hit the ground running and they'll and Racing United will steal an early lead that they can't and they won't be able to catch them up by the end.
I think that's,
Okay.
I think that all it takes is one good week for Racing United at the start of the season, where maybe a driver we don't know about who kind of
these guys could be the quickest people we've ever seen, or they could be the slowest people we've ever seen. We have absolutely no idea.
But that's my bold prediction. For those who are aware, the potential A and B or whatever you want to call them, if you want to imagine them in that vein, sure, go ahead. But if they're two separate entities, I'm going for what could be considered as the B to beat the A. That's what I...
Okay, Pyro, you might have to justify yourself with Yannick in the chat after, but
It's gonna be one of those, and if that is wrong, then I love Pegasus. I will just throw that out there. But I
here it is, the backtracking. You're in the hole.
I just do not trust them. That's all it is. But yeah, that's my bold prediction.
Okay. So Pegasus, you can reply on track by just qualifying in Lobby A and scoring a good clutch of points, and Pyro will have to sit there and admire your work.
It's too late to apologise now. Yeah, it is. But then again, prove me wrong, and then you'll be able to shit on me when it comes to week 8. If you don't prove me wrong, you guys are going to get it all season. I will say that, man. I will say that now. It will be one of those.
Right. Sounds like a good time to end it then. Let them get some last minute practice in.
Alright, yeah, that's probably a good idea. On that note, we're going to stop this stream in a minute. I'm going to go into GT properly and set up the Lobby A. Everyone who's in that group can go ahead and join that as and when they please, but we start at 8 o'clock. So we start in just under 40 minutes time. See you guys later.